Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out GITGUDRacing.com, where I'm offering the most accessible coaching sessions on the market. Now for the track guide. For turn 1, what I'm using as a reference for braking is this blue cone on the right side and the white line in front of the car, this one. I want to brake the moment that I'm not seeing the blue cone or whenever I'm very close to the white line. It is gonna be, you're not gonna have a lot of time to do the braking because you already have to turn. So it's difficult to reach 100% brake pressure and turn. However, that's gonna be probably the ideal way of doing it. I haven't had a lot of time to test it, just did few laps and then recorded the track guide because it was a bit busier than usual with the new year and so on. But what I would try is to push the braking point a bit forward, a bit more than the white line, and see if braking at 100% will gain that time on entry and still be able to turn the car. Those things happens very quickly in this corner, so what I'm doing is I'm picking around 80 and then I'm bleeding off and trailing into this corner. I think it's gonna be quite difficult to reach 100%, so to brake later and harder, but that will be the goal. However, I think even if you're going with 80% brake pressure, you won't lose that much time. I think it's maybe 1/10 if you're able to brake a bit deeper, but however, you'll use more the tires, and it's important to avoid locking up at this turn whenever you're turning right. So you have to bleed off the brakes quite quickly because otherwise you can lock up here. So bleeding off the brakes, and this is a long corner. I plan to cut this curb and I plan to apex as late as I can. So no, I'm not taking the beginning of the curb here. I'm not taking what is like the middle here. I'm taking it even later, around here, more to the end. So cut as much as you can, put your right tires almost to the grass, and then get back on power. You will get pushed to the left side, which is fine. You can even use a bit of this sand on the left without an off track. So try using as much as you can on the track. Now repositioning for the next corner, I plan to just bring the car as quickly as I can to the right side and then immediately turn without dropping the throttle or adding the brakes. You want to carry the downforce into this left-hander, so you will first turn and then you will release the throttle whenever you're getting a bit closer. And I'm most comfortable here by using like 1-3% braking here. So barely feathering the brakes just to make the front tires point. I don't want to lose a lot of speed whenever I'm going in. I want to carry the downforce, and there are two approaches to do it, to take this corner. The first approach is exactly what I'm doing, exactly what I'm explaining, braking less and then getting on power a bit later around here. So I'm braking with 1-3% around here and then getting back on power. The other approach would be to brake later and brake harder into this corner. So for example, you can do something like, instead of applying 3% braking here and dropping the throttle, do it here in this point around here and brake something like 10-15% and then be earlier on throttle. You will lose a bit of time because you're braking more, but you will make up for that with being earlier on throttle. So one of these two approaches will be equal, or I don't know exactly because I haven't tried. However, I prefer the first one. I prefer braking less, using less the tires, and then just being just a bit later on power, but carrying this minimum speed towards this corner. You can try and see what's gonna work for you. This is the two ways basically you can take this corner. Whenever you take it, use as much as you can from this curb, because otherwise you will end up in the gravel. So open up as much as possible. And now for the next corner, I use as a reference for braking the 50-meter board. At the 50, I'm applying the brakes and I'm braking here quite heavily. I'm going to 90% braking, And I treat this corner as a double apex corner, whereas here is the first apex and here is the second one. So I found this to be the best line. I honestly believe this is the best line that you can take in this corner. I had quite a good run here, so I was gaining a lot. But another thing that you should consider here is the way that you're applying the brakes. You want to brake very hard initially, but then you want to bleed it quickly because this is a cambered corner. So right now you have less grip, less grip, less grip, and now you have a bit more grip because it's a bit of a compression. So what you want to do with the brakes is that you want to drop it quickly so that you'll avoid locking up in the zone in which there's less grip. So it's all about avoiding the lockup, because if you're gonna micro lock up a tire, then you'll have a hard time making the car point. You will lose time on this straight. So braking hard, dropping quickly, and in this part right here between the first and the second apex, you're gonna trail and then get back on power. So I'm trailing in the lower 10 percentages here, still trailing 20%, and now I'm releasing the brakes and immediately putting the power down. If there's one corner in which you should focus on being without a gap in between your inputs, this will be it, just because of the big straight. In other corners, you will see in this lap that I have some gaps in my inputs. Definitely not ideal, definitely I'm losing a bit of time there, but the time that I'm losing is not that much because there were shorter straights. So I'm giving away half a tenth, let's say, in each, but here you will lose a lot if you're not blending the inputs. So blending the inputs together, whenever you go to 100, stay at 100. At this point around here, you will feel the car a bit sketchy on the rears, and if you will use a lot of steering angle, the car is gonna slide, so you're gonna lose the car unless you do a lift. What I found is that instead of doing the lift, just focus on relaxing the hands on the exit, relaxing the hands, so you won't use a lot of steering angle, because if you use the minimum amount of steering angle, the car won't snap and you will carry the speed. So this was my takeaway from trying this corner. Now for the next one, quite similar story in the way that you're gonna brake hard, heavy, and drop it quickly to avoid the lockup. I'm braking at this building, not the one with the 10 on it, but this one right here. So whenever I'm seeing it and I'm getting closely, I'm applying the brakes. And then, as I said, picking 100 in this case and quickly dropping, because I know here there will be less grip, and with this change in grip levels the car is gonna lock up, and you don't want that, especially here because it's a long right-hander, and after this long right-hander, whenever you're gonna put the power down, the car is gonna be slidey. If you overheat the tires too much in this phase, you will feel it in the next phase as well, and it will be super difficult to not give up on throttle and just take it easy. So turning now, trail braking, still trailing. I go to first gear just to make sure that the car won't lock up, and I'm using the engine braking to brake a bit more without using the brake pedal, and still trailing in the lower 5 percentages. Now whenever I feel like the car is turned well enough and I'm using this curb and I'm feeling this curb, I put the power down. But it's important here to be patient with the power. You want to slowly build it up. If you're gonna slam it, you will instantly spin. If you're gonna be a bit more confident on the throttle and you will just go a bit quicker than this, you won't spin, but you'll overheat the tires, you'll overheat the rears. And in this phase, whenever you will need to use more steering angle to bring the car to the right side, then the car is gonna feel slidey and you will have to drop the throttle. So I tried this, I had a few attempts, I tried this, and my best results were with this progressive application of throttle here, and then a bit of a maintaining here, and just whenever I'm making the steering wheel a bit more straight, then I'm going on power. And you don't have enough time, so I just reach 100% and then I brake and I turn. And this is my reference for braking and turning. The moment that I'm reaching 100%, that's the moment in which I'm turning, braking, and apexing early in this corner. You want to apex early just because this track, it now goes downward and you go into a compression. You have a lot of grip and you can make the corner. So if you're gonna apex later, you will miss the turning point and you will have a lot of trouble on the exit. So apexing nice and early, trailing in the lower percentages, cutting here a lot, and then getting back excuse me, getting back on power and using all the track here. The moment that this curve almost finished is the moment in which I'm applying the brakes again, I'm cutting this curve and then back on power. And now for this corner, this is quite tricky. I look at the 50, and after the 50 I'm applying the brakes. I brake quite hard, 80% or so, and then I'm immediately bleeding off and turning. It's kind of the same story all over again, and cutting this curve as well. Like, you really want to stay tight to this left-hander, because if your car is gonna end up more in the center of the track, you will lose time by bringing it back now to the left. You want to travel the less distance here. So because this is a corner in which you don't have a lot of time to prepare it, it's basically, and with this car, with cars that have a lot of acceleration, you don't have a lot of time to prepare it, because everything is gonna happen super fast. Even with the Mazdas, you don't have a lot of time. If you go a bit wider, then you don't have time to properly reposition. So staying tight to the left-hander. Now, the moment that I feel that I bring the car almost to the white line and I reach 100% throttle is the moment that I'm applying the brakes and turning again. So this is my reference, getting closer to the white line or arriving at 100% throttle. Just blinking 100% and then turning, braking, downshifting to second. This is gonna help you a lot. Third is gonna be slower because you won't get the rotation with third. And apexing late around the white line, don't touch this curve. The car is already slidey because I'm using a lot of steering angle. At this point it's like this. If you're gonna touch that curve and you go back on power, you will spin, so don't touch the curve. Now, building up the throttle, take it nice and easy. It's basically you're gonna do it in regards with the steering wheel. Whenever you have a lot of steering angle, you can't get back on power confidently. So the more I straighten the steering wheel, the more I'm going on throttle. So this is what's happening right now. Now for the next one, the moment that I see that there's something white here, the curb, is the moment that I turn. And you can cut more here. This was a mistake from me. I was taking it more carefully to finish the lap. You can cut a bit more without being an off track, and you will be gaining also because you won't be needed to do this big of a lift. Like, this was a huge lift. You can do half the lift of what I did, so something like here if you're gonna cut more, but yeah, I didn't manage to do that. But notice that it's something that you should be aiming for, having the smallest possible lift in this corner, because with this car, a lift is a lot of time. A lift, it's probably 2-3 tenths. Like, if you are able to do half of lift, maybe it's 2 tenths here with this car, because it's a very quick car. And now for the last corner, the moment that I don't see the green thing anymore is the moment that I'm applying the brakes. I'm braking and downshifting to third. However, I apex a bit too early. You want to apex a bit later, so brake a bit deeper, turn a bit more with the steering wheel, stay in third gear and apex a bit later, so that you won't run out of track on the exit. Because I was at the edge of getting the off track and I had to do this lift on throttle. You will know you have a good corner here whenever you're going on throttle and not going off throttle. So in short, that's a track guide of the new Okayama with the Super Formula car. I wish you a great week ahead and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.